Welcome, 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 my beautiful, beautiful friends to Breath of Life Conversations. I am your amazing, beautiful host, Abigail, medical intuitive and all around just amazing person because, we don't give ourselves enough props. So today I am just gonna go all in and give you guys permission to do the same. To your own horns, to congratulate yourselves. And I feel like I have one of the best guests on this week for doing just that. Somebody who I feel like has not only the words and the ability to lift herself up, but does this consistently for the people that she loves and the people that she mentors and the people that she coaches. And I really want you guys to meet her and to learn about what she does, learn about how she does it, what she is passionate about and what drives her. And we're just going to have, like always, a conversation. So welcome to the show, Miss Annamarie. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so excited. So excited.
So how, to be quite honest, like how we met is like, it has not been very long. Like we have not known each other for very long. We met through Soul Teacher.
Yes.
I shouldn't say it's now the world. I'm sure that all of us soul teachers feel this way, that on some level it's like ours.
Yeah.
And we have to like thank our mentor Nikki Novo for that, for like gifting us with the language and the ability to embrace who we are.
Yeah.
But that was how we met, was through Soul Teacher. And I feel like the thing that kind of like brought us together was this idea of like healing. And I remember us having one of our first conversations kind of around personal issue for yourself, right? I don't even know if issue is the right word, but it's your situation. And it really just got me more interested in who you are, and through the process of being able to teach you some things that I really love to teach, the healing aspect, we were really able to connect. And now here you are, graduated from Soul Teacher, running your own business.
It's like fast, like catapulting me forward.
Right? And now you're a healer yourself, and always really have been. I mean, you're a therapist by trade, is that correct?
Yes. I started off in social work, undergrad social work, master's degree in social work. And I didn't actually see myself becoming a therapist. In all of undergrad, I would say I would never do therapy. I would never do clinical social work. That's just not my thing. I don't have the boundaries for it. And long behold, 2020, I ended up becoming a therapist, and that's where I've been. And I've been slowly like transitioning into more of like the coaching and now the intuitive healing part.
So for you, is the intuitive healing just an easy extension? Because I feel like for me, that like as a nurse, it just felt natural to go into expanding who I am. Was that something that came quite easily for you? It was like, oh yeah, of course I have this thing.
Yes, it definitely did. I think that there was, I tell Nikki sometimes, I'm like, I felt like she wore me down. Like I started following her on Instagram. And I remember when she first came out with Soul Teacher and seeing it and be like, this is for people who want to like be readers and intuitive healers for other people. And I was like, I'm never going to do that. That's not ever going to be for me. Like, I just kind of want to know a little bit for my own stuff. But when I felt this draw this time for Soul Teacher, and I was like, I just feel like I have to do it. I have to figure out a way to do it. And from the time I got in there, it's just been like rapid fire, and things have like the way I do readings and stuff. It just kind of, it felt easy, not like knock on wood, like it just felt very easy. I understood things. I've been very strong in like what I'm able to see and pull. Like when I do readings, one of the biggest things people are like, you get so much information. I'm like, yeah. So I would say it was an easy progression, and it helped me see even in therapy how I'm already using my intuition and how I'm able to make connections for other people when they're, talking about, oh, I have this behavior and this behavior. And then I'm like, oh, but remember when you said this, 2 months ago, and like linking stuff together for deeper healing.
Do you feel like this, I don't even want to call it this style necessarily. Like I hesitate to call intuition a style as if it's, just one more form of therapy, because I don't really know how I feel about like calling it a therapy really.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like it is a therapy? Do you feel like it is something that will just like become that instead of it being what it is right now, which is kind of like a very stigmatized, psychics in the back room behind the curtain, and we're like slowly trying to transition it into this like professional career? Do you think that like ultimately that is where it's just going to go, is it be a professional form of therapy?
Yeah, I actually think that it will, and especially with the way that I've understood and translated it. So what I loved with therapy was being able to, when I originally went into it, was being able to connect with people and help them see this much deeper side of themselves, which at the time I didn't have the like language and understanding that it was me connecting with their souls. And the thing that I like about the intuitive healing versus therapy is very limited by the system it's in right now. And that system is have as many interactions, as many like sessions as you can with the person. Like the sicker they are, the better, because that means more money in your pocket. And I don't use hate very often, but I severely loathe that type of functioning, that system. And when I don't believe, like when I have a client come to me, a lot of my colleagues refer to me as like the therapist you send clients to when therapy isn't working. And they're like, this isn't working for me. I only really need to see a client for 3 to 6 months for them to have symptoms like boof gone, especially when it comes to anxiety. I don't believe in like, oh, you should have to be in therapy for 2 or 3 years in order to experience life, in order to get through things, in order to process your life experiences, because it also, to me, creates this very codependent relationship. Your client should be able to experience life's challenges without needing you to help them get through it. And so my goal is always to give people the tools and understanding of themselves and the fire within their own soul so that they can step into life's experiences. I believe that emotions are the way that our soul communicates and interacts with the physical world. And the more we embrace them, the more we become more of ourselves and kind of upgrade and change. We shed identities. It's just a natural part of life. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes. I mean, you bring up such a great point, and I am glad that you phrase it that way, because I was actually like a little afraid, to be honest. Like I was like, oh, please, like I'm asking this question and now I like want to take it back, because I was like, I just asked a therapist if like therapy, if my love of intuition is going to turn into a therapy, which I absolutely like. Personally, like I can't really like abide by that, because there is that, like you were saying, this container in which therapy exists in, where very similar to the medical field, just in general, right? It is about, like you said, the sicker you are, the better, because they want perpetual patience. They don't want to see you well. They don't want to see you being able to cope with the very job that we have chosen as a soul, which is to be a human and to experience things and to experience emotions and to be able to have, the full range of our emotions. Like you said, something worthy of enjoying when it's bad. And especially when it's good. And that whole idea of having to see a therapist for years, that was one of the reasons why I went whole hog into this idea of becoming an intuitive healer and doing what I do for my clients, because like you said, I don't believe in having a person not be able to go away from me. And it is my life's mission to like be empowering, like to grant my clients the gift of independence and empowerment. And so it's something that it always gives me a little bit of pause when I think about what the world is open for and available for.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time I work at the hospital,
Yeah.
I have to fight. I fight this internal fight of telling myself that these people that I'm seeing that are struggling so hard with just being able to cope
Yeah.
with basic things
Yeah.
like a fever.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, and I find that as a society, and it's not like I'm not like super angry. I'm just like, I want to share this information. But as a society, we demonize emotions. Like if you're not just happy and you're just not like good with going in a grind, then something's wrong with you. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, my goal is not to get you back to the place you were. That's what got you here in the first place. Because a lot of times by the time I'm seeing people, it is when they are not able to function because they're having panic attacks all the time. They can't sleep. They're not eating. They're constantly worried. They just feel stuck. They feel hopeless. And my goal is never to like get you back to where you're just able to just sit back and go along with things. My goal is to get you beyond that, to reconnect you with your soul. And my thing with anxiety, which is why I love anxiety, like anxiety. And I feel like anxiety and I are besties. Like I understand its energy. It understands me, but it's such a powerful tool because everyone thinks it's like, oh, something's wrong with me. And then it's me versus my anxiety. And it's not to say that medication and certain things don't work. They have been very helpful for people, but anxiety is this opportunity to see ourselves. And it's really calling attention like, hey, there's something that's making us feel unsafe, or there's something that we didn't deal with. So we're going to take over while you like to take space to process your emotions. And then we go into survival mode because our anxiety is just helping us to survive. We're not meant to live out of it as a vessel, but we don't realize that as humans. So we just keep living years and years and years and years and years out of our anxiety. And it's speaking to us in ways we don't know. When we're able to connect with it and see it and collaborate with it, we can actually create much more beautiful experience. And it's almost like a mini soul retrieval because it's protecting a part of our soul that was endangered by whatever circumstance we faced, be it like a friend telling all of our secrets to our second grade class, or, you know, something more severe, or such as like an abusive situation.
Why do you think that it is that people struggle with this loss of control? Like as humans, that as a species, like right, just flat out as an animal, right? An organism that is a part of the animal kingdom. Mm-hmm. Control is like the thing that we have none of and all of, right? Yeah. I think of all of the more intuitive notions of us as an organism, that is just the same way that we say that like, everybody is born with intuitive abilities, right?
Yeah.
We are all born with the ability to like have all the control and none of the control as well. Like it's one of the most contradictory things. I know that like will severely bother people to hear that you know, we say it in various different ways all the time. It's a concept that we as intuitives and as people who are just very like understanding of our internal selves, that, and it has taken us a lot of work to get there. Like I feel like some people will like look at people like you and I and be like, well, you guys have it all together. You're right, but like it took us a long time to like figure that shit out. It took until today.
Yes. When I tell people about the last 6 years of my life, people are like, wow, you've been through a lot. And I'm like, yes, I have. Thank you.
Toting your own heart. Do it.
I'm like, and through some stuff, let me help enlighten you. You know, it's just one of those things. Like people, I have clients all the time who are like, you're only 27. Wow. You're so mature. You're so like expanded. And I'm like, I have lived so many lifetimes in the last 6 years. I got pregnant unexpectedly in my junior year in college, which like catapulted all of these like internal family issues and like totally made me shed all of these identities that had been like weighing me down. And then I got through undergrad and grad school. My partner and my daughter's father passed away by suicide in 2019 when I was about to head into my second year of grad school. Which changed my trajectory. At first, I was in MSW in law as a joint degree program. But after he passed away, I decided I wanted to go back into the workforce. I wanted to, step into the full like parent adult role. I didn't have time to study continue and for another like year and a half. And then I ended up moving to Michigan, and the pandemic happened, and my career did not go the way that I had planned it to go, because I was very much this person who had a 10-year plan. I was like, I work and I hustle all the time. I was like, I prided myself. I'm like, I am the hardest worker you will ever have. And I am creative and stuff. And none of that, like all of the things that had worked previously for me were just like no longer working, to where I had this huge like emotional breakdown. And I finally had to look at myself, and I had to look at my traumas and the things that I had refused to deal with emotionally, that I was like hiding. With my anxiety language is overachiever, which means I focus on like, what can I do? And what's on my list? What's my long-term goal? What's going to be like, impressive. And I really focus where I become a workaholic, like all that kind of stuff. And none of that stuff was working. And so I had this huge breakdown where like every single layer just continued to fly off. And I ended up becoming a therapist.
And like, seriously, like anybody who asks the question, what is my purpose? Right. Mm-hmm. I always tell them, okay, number one, like your purpose can be anything that you choose it to be.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What is it that feels good in your body? And I think that a lot of people have this feeling like, well, no, it's supposed to be this like divine thing. I'm like, why is not the choice, your own personal choice? Why is that not divine? One, tends to be the first question. But then two, the thing that tends to be what we struggle with, right? Like it goes kind of back to that whole, where is Chiron in your chart, right? Yeah. Where are you the wounded healer? That is the thing that you are meant to, one, like learn to get over, or like to heal, and then be most capable of teaching others. Why is that not the most brilliant place to like say, this is where my purpose is?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah. And I think that, purpose, it can look like different things. And when I do, so one of the signature offerings I have is a soulmate business reading. And the one thing I've learned from those business readings is, so our business has an energy all on its own. And I get the core purpose. So I just read somebody this weekend, and her business is like a florist business. It has to do with flowers. And the core business is connecting souls with the healing powers of flowers. And the way that she does that is teaching them like arrangements are essentially almost like little like medicines, like as if you were making a concoction with, the different plants and herbs and stuff like that. It's the same way with having different arrangements in different parts of your home and like in different. And so like her soul teamed up with this business, collaborated, and is birthing this very beautiful process. And she was never able to figure out, like what makes me different, and, how are all of my experiences relevant to, my purpose. And it was just this beautiful thing where you see, like, it's not just what you do at work, it's how you're living life. It's the experiences that you have, that her, harder experiences with, past relationships and stuff, that's how she's going to pick out the needs of what her clients need right now. Like she's going to make these arrangements based off of like, oh, this is what I needed when I was experiencing heartbreak, or when I was feeling trapped in this. And it's going to bring this medicine and birth this medicine in this beautiful, beautiful way. So I just have learned a lot about purpose by doing this. And it's really changed the way I look at things. Like I view my purpose as helping people to reconnect to their souls and joy. And the only way that we can experience joy is by really unleashing our souls like true light into the world and just being authentic. And it's that like ego mind, or ego soul and body combination, when we're allowing that to actually collaborate, instead of the ego fighting with the body and soul, and the soul like, or the soul feeling like it has to cover itself up because of the things that we limit it with. So I've just learned a lot about purpose in the last like year and a half. So yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, your purpose probably isn't as surface level as you think it is. It's probably it's this much bigger thing that can be, created in a multiple different ways.
Yeah. And ultimately what comes out of it is your enjoyment of your
Yeah.
life.
Oh
That,
yeah.
it's not supposed to be something that you like fight against. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be something that
Yeah.
feels super foreign to you.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm like, where is your bliss? Like, where do you find like the most safety? Where do you find the most peace?
Yeah.
Like, it may not be
Yeah.
peaceful work. Like, that's the
Yeah.
other
Oh
thing. Like, I tell people
yeah.
that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I have two aspects of my being, and like the first path that I needed to go down was modern medicine. I needed to go
Yeah.
and put my brain and my body through a
Yeah.
very intense training program, because I needed my body already, my soul already knew, like, you have this whole intuitive thing in the bag. Like, you just
Yeah.
don't have the language for it. Like, it'll come.
Yeah.
Like, that will come.
Yeah.
Your mentors will come, your teachers will
Yeah.
come to like give you that language, but like, you're already doing that all the
Yeah.
time anyway. You're weird.
Yeah.
You'll get used to it. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I'm the same way. And I really
right?
find that like I tell people this too, whatever you resist the most on your ego side, where you're telling that will never work, I'm absolutely never going to do that, is usually a huge sign that like this is going to lead to transformation. I at one point said, I will to my partner who passed, I will never move to Michigan. I will absolutely never. I was like, why would I move there? It is cold. Like, I will literally never move there. And after he passed away, I so quickly moved to Michigan, and I felt drawn there. And I remember thinking in high school and stuff, like, if I ever get pregnant before I'm married, I will literally just shrivel up and die. Like, I will not survive it. There's no way I can do it. And I did in college. And all these things where my ego fought it and was like, this is not something, it had this fear that it picked up from something else externally, were the biggest things that led to my transformation in who I am today. And it's just, I always tell people, I'm like, so if you hear your ego being like, no, that could never happen, why don't you just try to do the opposite? Just really quick, like, just take a step in the opposite direction, see what happens.
So this is actually a really good, interesting like topic. Like, I find this so fascinating, because I feel like in this regard, you and I are like polar opposites, right? And we're like and this is like a really, you guys listen to this. This is like a really good like indicator of like how the universe, if you don't believe in fate, you don't have to worry about it. It's not something that you have to be like, oh, I'm diving deep into like destiny.
Yeah.
But like, Annamarie has a really amazing story where everything that she was like, I am 100%, that's not going to happen, I'm not going to do it. This ultimately,
Yeah.
like, where we would think, right, where our thoughts dictate our reality, right? It very much was like, actually, though, what
Yeah.
you're thinking and what you're really like putting out into the world. And I guess there's an argument about it saying like, just because you were saying it, your heart was like putting out a very different frequency.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, I flat out, I was like, no, like same as you, like I had very like hard, strict rules of like, this is what I'm not gonna do. And I feel like the universe very much like heard that level of frequency coming out of me, where it was like, you will not be your mom. And I say that, love everybody, I love my mom. But I was not gonna be 23 and pregnant. I was not going to be the statistic that everybody thought that a Black or mixed girl was ever going to be. I was the top of my class. I wasn't going to be seen as that, stereotypical, speaking like I was, from the ghetto all the time. Don't get me wrong. It comes out, but like, there were certain things I was like, I am not going to be this. And it had a lot to do with how I thought that society viewed Black people and viewed women. And I was like firmly against it. And the universe, I feel like heard that. And it never got put in my path. Like, I'm 100% certain that like I could have been the hoish hoe on the planet, and I still would not. I would have gone to like old school ancient times where women were 100% in control of their cycle, and they decided when they were going to get pregnant, that was going to be me. It wouldn't have been, guys. It would have like protection, but like, I 100% like believe in that. And I think it's so interesting hearing your story and about how the universe was like, but no, like, you have a destiny, you have a path, you're meant to have your child. You're meant to go through this intense emotional trauma that you, in order to be able to fully become who you are meant to move somewhere that you kept telling yourself was like not the place you wanted to, that you were going to ever end up.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes down to something else that I've learned is before I had my daughter, especially, I was very much like, I grew up in a household. I grew up in my mom's white, my dad's black. And it was very culture of like, you hustle, you put your nose down, you show everyone that yes, you're black, but like you are classy and you are respectable and you are the hardest worker, that you deserve to be in the room. My mom always told me like, you are a disabled black woman, and then when I became a single mother, like you're a single mother, disabled black woman, you are going to have to work harder than every single other person on this planet just to get part of what they have. And so I prided myself. I'm not that emotional type. That's what I used to say. Like, I'm not really that emotional. I don't really care. I'm very, very independent. I do my own thing. Like when I went to college, I was in charge of 10, I was like president or vice president of 10 different organizations. I was a double major and I drank and partied like 4 or 5 days out of the week. I wanted to be everything and I was convinced I could do everything, but I didn't leave any room for emotions at all. And so
are you sure we're not the same person? I 100% understand this like completely. I was like, oh my God, you're like talking about my life.
But I think the difference is like, you seem like you had this very specific plan, like you were the top of your class. And I really relied very much on these talents. Like I was never like the book smartest, but I could charm a room. I remember, being in high school and not getting certain assignments in and then like impacting my grade, but I didn't, kind of like what Cher does in Clueless. Like she goes back and negotiates and I would do that. And that was like, I've always been very good at connecting with people. And so I would do that. And I never had a doubt that I could do the things that I wanted goal wise, but I never followed a traditional path to get there. And I think that speaks a lot, which is like how my soul interacts with stuff in general. Is I have a very stubborn, like my best friend, she's like, yeah, God, like, how baby birds learn to fly by being shoved out of the nest. God probably gives you a bunch of chances to like go on the path, but you don't listen. So he has to shove you off. And I was like, you're probably right. And all the goals I made back in that time were very like superficial in nature. They were to prove something. They were because I had something to prove. They were this like, oh, I'm going to be I wanted to be a state senator at 25. And I was on track for that before I got pregnant. And well, at least according to my 10-year plan. And I wanted that though, because
they never work out.
I
love them.
And it didn't work out. And I look back and I was like, and there are some elements that, yes, I might want that or something like that in the future, but it was all because like I had something to prove and I wanted everyone to see like, look, I am this Black woman who's disabled, who is a single mother, and look at all I'm able to accomplish, so that people could never say like, oh, she's that stereotype or she's this. And so I think that the universe really was like, you're not making these goals from a place of heart. And I'm a very heart-filled, centered, driven person, even though I try to disconnect from it a lot. And I think that that's the biggest thing. Like now when I try to make goals, I'm like, what am I trying to feel into? What is the emotion that I want, as opposed to focusing on like the outcome, so to speak. And that's worked a lot better. Like the one thing that I have been able to like specifically manifest is growing up, I would always, when I go on runs, I think about different happy things. And I always wanted to take my one sister to Europe for like graduation or for a birthday, like something where I was like, I just want to give her that because she wants to travel. And I actually did that last year. We went to Greece after she graduated high school. And it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I did that, but I didn't think about it. But it was a very emotional driven goal or like fantasy that I had. And it came to fruition. And so I've learned that the less I try to control the specifics, the better it comes. I got engaged last September.
Congratulations.
I'm no longer engaged. And
congratulations still, because it probably wasn't going to work. And this is the universe's way. But
yes. We got engaged. Oh, girl. I sometimes my life could be like on a TV screen. So we got engaged and I was so like, I want to get engaged. I want to be married. I wanted this. And I was like fixated on it. And I tried to control stuff because of what I thought I wanted, what I told myself, like, this is what it should look like. And everything happened, but nothing felt right. Nothing was, all of a sudden I was like, why don't I feel happy and safe and secure and supported? Why aren't I like feeling the way that I always thought I would? And that was a really big like sign to me that I was focusing on the wrong part of trying to manifest the things I wanted in life. And I think that has to do with these really big catastrophic like things that happen in my life.
Girl, I still stand by my congratulations, because dude, like that is such that is something that I think everyone should be striving towards, is that this one, understanding what it is that they truly, truly want for themselves. I feel like this is one of the defining reasons for why one of the like biggest energetic prescriptions or homeworks that I give to my clients is writing out what it is that they want their ideal life to be. And I tell my clients every single time I give this assignment out, like, write out what it is that your perfect life would look like. And this is not to make you feel like, oh, well, this is really lofty and I can never reach this. It's because most of the time we sit and we don't even know what it is that we want in our life. And I tell them, be very specific. It's not just about, I want a big house. I want you to describe that house. I want you to describe how you are going to feel inside of this house. I need you to describe how you feel in the perfect relationship. What does that look like? And not just based off of the apple pie baseball, playing white picket fence 2.5 kids bullshit that that doesn't work for anyone, really. Maybe it works for like one person out there. And for that one person, it is literally the perfect life. But to like think about what it is that is perfect for you with no shame and no blame, and really feeling into what that's like. And actually truly like seeing like this actually is attainable. It actually is attainable.
And the cool part about like that strategy you use, because I use it in my intakes, whether it's for coaching or for therapy, and even my signature offers, my readings, I have that as one of the questions. I ask, what is your ideal life in a perfect world? Rainbows and butterflies, anything's possible. Whatever you want, what is it? And what that does in therapy and coaching is that gives me ideas. What do they need? What does their soul desire? If they're like, I want a big house with a yard with like, a garden in the backyard, they want a place where they feel open and free. They want to feel like they have a home that allows them to have the space to be who they want. If they want, I want, I'll be in the perfect relationship and my boyfriend would be tall and my boyfriend would be, really strong and he would make all this money. They're looking for connection that also makes them feel stable, that makes them feel safe and secure. And they might even have some insecurities about their own image and what they're able to create in themselves. That ideal image that people give you gives you a wealth of information. And the number one thing that I will go to time and time again, because it also is tricking the ego. Because the ego, if you're just like, how do you want to feel? I don't know. I guess I want to feel like happy. People don't even know what happy feels like in their own body. So you have to do things in order for them to even connect with, oh, you're right. I do. I guess I haven't ever felt like safe, or I guess I haven't ever felt connected. They don't know what emotions feel like in their body because we spend so much of our life disconnected, focusing on these surface level things. And the first step is always getting reacquainted with, what do your emotions feel like? What are they like for you? Because they're not the same for each person.
Absolutely. And that is I think so many people sit and they're afraid of emotion. And in my life, people have said everything about me being, too into my emotions, too feeling, too whatever. And it even comes out of people when they're telling me that I am like too harsh and too blunt and whatever, like I'm, too, I'm too mean. And I'm like, you only think I'm being mean because I am so like wanting you to just like feel. I want you to feel. I want you to feel something. And if me yelling at you is the way to do it, if me, telling you that treating you with kid gloves, in my experience, people like, I very much am that emergency room nurse. I'm not really I can pull out the kid gloves if you need it, but if I'm being completely honest, I am that person that, stands and tells you, who, as resistant as you are, goes, listen up, copper top. Like, your heart is literally dying in your chest. And I'm going to ask you one question. What is it that you still want to experience in this life? What is it that you still want to achieve? What is it that you still want to see? Mm-hmm. Because I am telling you right now that I want that for you. I want that for you. But in order for you to have it, you need to be quiet. You need to listen. You need to feel. Yeah. And you need to let me help you. Yeah. 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 Right? From there, make your choice.
Yes, exactly. I tell clients, I am not the therapist for you. If you kind of want to like lollygag around and just like say you're in therapy and just like venting is fine. And I actually have I've had sessions available for my clients. Like if they're like, I just need to talk through this or like let out this steam, that are like 30 minutes. And I'm like, yeah. And then maybe like game plan one thing to do. But if you're not ready to get deep, I'm not the therapist for you. We get like my clients, I stop experiencing like panic attacks fully within a month of therapy, even if it's just like every other week, because we get down and dig deep right away. Like there is not a crevice that I'm like not asking, well, I wonder, have we made this connection? What about this connection? Or like, what if I'm very, very curious. I ask a lot of questions, and I also share like what I see in a very raw way. Like I have a client who I was like, well, this, and this. And she was like, no one has ever said that to me. And I was like, well, this is what I'm seeing. And like, if you keep going this way, this is what you're creating. This is the outcome. And I think that that's important, but I grew up being either you're too much, you're too emotional, you're too loud, you're too this, or you're so hard on people. Like my mom, especially, I love her, but she is a person who has no boundaries. Like she says yes to everyone all the time. And I get a little bit of that. But I remember in like romantic relationships, especially growing up, the guy would mess up and apologize and have this heartfelt apology. I'm so sorry. I'm this. And my mom would always be like, well, they are going through their own thing. And like, you can't be so cold. You can't be so hard. Cause I went through a period in time when I was like cold blooded. I was like, I don't care about any of these men. I was like, this is before I met my daughter's
You don't give me what I need, you're out.
Yes. Yeah. It was like before I started dating my daughter's father, who he saw my game a little bit, and he like sees game, and he was like, oh, I would never date you. And my brain went, challenge accepted. Because I still don't like being told you can't do something. You can't do this. You can't. It's almost like I'm like, oh, I bet that I can. Like, what are you saying? So it's one of those things where, I've been told both, and it definitely, I see how it plays out with my clients, because everything is usually a mirror in some capacity. So my clients for sure.
Well, and that I feel like is so pivotal, like for people who are like, I want to do this. I want to show up. And that was how I approached therapy. Like that's how I feel like I found the other half of my soul, which was the language that I needed in order to tell the world, like, this is who I have always been, this intuitive creature that like has these abilities that I just have, my soul in this lifetime chose not to forget. And was to go in through this very dark period in my life, and where I was being abused, and going in saying like, I am broken. I'm telling my therapist, that was like the first thing that came out of my mouth. I was like, I am broken and I am done with it. And I am in need of you telling me what I need to read, watch, listen to, that will allow me to learn the things that I need to do in my life to not be broken anymore. and I very much feel like whether it's therapy work or talk therapy work or intuitive work, if you are coming in with that sort of mentality where you are like, I am willing to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Or you go in maybe not having that notion, but you through the first few sessions, that's where you come into where you're like, no, I truthfully am not available for this crap anymore.
Yeah.
And I want to know, what can I do? How can I learn so that I can show up in the way that I want to? That is why you're able to have those sorts of results where people are experiencing full and total like dismantling of their panic attacks and their severe forms of anxiety in 6 months, because your clients get to this place very quickly where they're like, you're right. You're right. I need to pay attention to all of these connections, all of these things. And I need to take responsibility for what I can. And I need to understand that taking responsibility does not mean I'm shaming myself. It does not mean that I am a bad person. It does not mean that I can't learn and grow. It does not mean that my journey ends here, that this is just, in fact, it's the opposite. This is just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Our hardships really, and on an energetic level, how I see them when they are fully integrated. And I've learned this by doing chakra readings when I was in Soul Teacher, but when a hardship that we've experienced in life is fully integrated, an emotion has been felt and processed and have moved through our body, it upgrades our chakra, it upgrades our energy, because it takes the lesson and releases the wound, releases the block. But when we don't, it sits there and it keeps us the same age. It keeps us stuck and not being able to move forward, which then we're responding to things similar. Like it goes into the whole, like our body remembers, but also like our minds and our egos are trying to protect ourselves. So anything that swings close to that emotion or that experience triggers us, and we respond the same way. And we keep ourselves in these loops and these cycles. And it's just, you know, it is hard for people to look at their past, or like, I don't even want to go there. I just want to feel better. But a lot of times you have to go into the past in order to move forward. And I had a client who came to me within my first year of starting therapy. She had severe anxiety to where she had been hospitalized a couple of times throughout her life since she was 14. And therapy had never worked for her. She was just like, I need something, because I'm at the point where like, I don't even want to live anymore. And within 3 months, she had no panic attacks. She has been panic attack free for 1.5 years. And she is so much different than when we first started. I remember when she first started, she had no hope that this was going to work. And it really was like, we made these connections of like the way, how we're mirroring. She had this terrible relationship with her mother, and how she was mirroring that on herself. She was keeping those same types of things in place, and she didn't realize it. It was very much like it. I can't even describe like the big transformation, but it's just one of those things where when we are able to sit with ourselves in the uncomfortable emotions, then we can also learn, how does it need to move out of us? And we're acknowledging like, my soul is hurting, and because emotions again are just messages from the soul. And then we can kind of pivot and move forward. Another thing, and I'll try not to tangent because I know we're running close on time, but another thing I learned was when I started Soul Teacher, I was really fascinated with the fact that I feel very deeply with emotions. Like I communicate and I understand them very well. And so I was like, I feel like there's an energetic thing here. And so what I've actually learned is that emotions have are communicating specific things for our soul. Like they might be felt for different reasons, but like, so sadness, for example, is actually our soul asking for connection. It's trying to adapt to sudden change in the physical world. And it's asking for connection to get through that. And that totally changed the way that I interact, like even with my daughter, when she's like, I'm sad and she's crying. And instead of being like, why are you sad? Oh my God, this is not something to be sad about. Like, you know, I don't let her have a cookie right away because I don't want her to throw up later. She's like, oh, I'm so sad. Like, but instead of going over to her and connecting with her, hugging her, letting her know that I am there and just sitting with her. It doesn't mean that it's going to change the situation. It doesn't change the situation. And that has changed so much in our dynamic and our household. And even how, like, even what I know when I'm sad, seeking out connection. but we don't let ourselves. We think that sadness means we have to isolate, or that these negative emotions mean that we isolate. And that's not the case. Even anger is a protective emotion. It's there to help us like possibly trigger our survival instincts, but it's also telling us some type of boundary was crossed. And it can a lot of times stems from the connection on the sadness level not being met. And that is something where I was like, it totally changed the way that I saw emotions as well, instead of just being like this thing that we are forced to experience as humans. And like, I can just help people get through them, but that's these messages. And I think that that's a really important piece to it, is just like, you're supposed to feel them. They're meant to be felt because they're messages from the soul on how to live and move forward and make a life that is the most authentic and aligned with your soul.
Yes. Got it. So yes, 100%. If more people understood everything that you were just saying, not just on an intellectual level, but what it is that you're truly talking about is understanding it on a bodily level and not being afraid of it, or going ahead and being afraid of it, but not allowing that fear to stop them.
Yeah.
I want everyone to think, like, if you guys could have a session with Annamarie and understand on a bodily level what it is that she just described, what would the world look like?
Yeah.
You know, what would the world look like? How much violence would still exist in the world against ourselves, against others, right? If we could just understand that our emotions are not something that we have to run away from, but something that we should embrace, and something that can allow us to fully embrace and celebrate everything that we are.
Yeah.
And so, God, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you
You're welcome.
for dropping so many pearls of wisdom on us, for even more so than that, like providing a space for people to be able to come and find you and be able to do this work. It's so important. I cannot stress how like blessed we are that you are in this world, that you have, you know, embraced who you are, what you do, you know, your abilities. I am just, there are no words to truly describe what just allows, what you have allowed for us to experience in your presence.
Thank
honestly,
you.
today.
I'm so excited.
And
Thank
through
you.
this conversation.
I've loved this conversation. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. That's so cool.
I love
That's
it.
awesome.
You guys, if you have been activated and you have had a fire lit underneath your butt to work with Annamarie, I am going to put all of the different ways, the links to follow, to work with Annamarie down in the bottom in the show notes. Please go, at the very least, follow her, because she's a couple of different accounts. I want you to follow both. There is so much wisdom and knowledge to be learned. There's so much to be embraced working with her. Please, if you have any questions, slide into her DMs, ask her what you have, work with her if you can. Of course, down on the bottom, as always, you will find the links to be able to book a session and work with me as well, and where to follow you, where you can follow us, all the things. You guys, this has been an absolutely amazing and life-changing conversation. I cannot once again express how much gratitude I feel right now and how blessed we are. I have full body chills right now. It's just been so amazing. You guys, this world is hard enough as it is. If you are going to sit and ignore who you are at your core and all of the things that you're meant to experience in this life, please understand that if you are struggling with anxiety, if you are struggling with depression, if you are struggling with anger or sadness or whatever it is that you are feeling, you are not alone. We see you, we hear you, we're here for you, and we have all of the time in the world to figure it out so that you can be living your best life. Okay.
Yes,
Because
honestly.
you
And it's a lot
deserve it.
easier than you think it is. I know we think it's this big thing. It's a lot easier.
Way easier. And if you guys didn't hear before, full transformation in literally 3 to 6 months. Okay. So this is work that we highly believe in. This is work that we are doing for ourselves. It's why we are in the positions that we're in, why we are loving our lives the way they are. And I honestly cannot tell you or like toot this horn enough that there is all of the things that you want and wish for. It is available to you, and the universe it has your back, and it will try to make everything you want possible. So if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, all the goodness. And we will see you next time on the next Breath of Life conversation. Thank you, Annamarie. Love you so much.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you.
Bye, friends.